Andy Hiley having his first race as a pensioner. He was keen to point out to Chris Stevens this morning, and he is going to go on to his 8th lap now. There's just about 4.5 minutes left to go, so probably 3, maybe 4 more laps they'll squeeze in this race.
So they turn their way through Hawthorne. Through the first half of the lap, on the last lap, Hiley perhaps looks the quicker. They've got a car that's had a big lock-up, I think, just ahead of them. And shortly they're going to lap last year's champion, aren't they? Stu Thompson, who's not having a good opening race. So it's not to lock up. It's a big, big problem there.
That's the ex-Warren Vesey car of Marcus Roskill that has caught fire to some degree.
Hiley's off.
Hiley is off on fluid, no doubt, and so he's rejoined the circuit. Not actually lost too much, but looks like a very hazardous part of the circuit there at the Jim Clark S. Is that car of Marcus Roskill, which was the one with the flames coming out of it. That's just gone out of shot, so we don't know where that's got to yet. Just looking to see if anyone else.
Stopped right by the marshal.
Oh, there we go. The driver's out of the car, and one of the next cars come through, taking it very cautiously, having seen all that fluid down there at that part of the circuit.
Hiley's taken the lead into the complex, got down the inside of Collingwood in traffic. There, yeah, I think that Mev's not running hardly, is it? It's going about 5 miles per hour. Yeah. But there's the change of lead then, Andy Hiley. Now, I just wonder with all that fluid down whether we may get an early end to the race. If not, we'll carry on battling nose to tail. And again, right in the toe is Paul Collingwood. He did this a few laps ago. He's going to try it again. Round the outside of Andy Hiley. Can he brake really late? Hiley knows this move is coming in. He's going to stay there, and they're absolutely side by side. And Andy Hiley hangs on to it, but that got, well, if there wasn't contact in, they must have been millimetres apart.
Well, it looked very close. Paul Collingwood certainly had a gesticulation or two to make about that as well. So Hiley it is that leads in 53. Paul Collingwood in second. This race has come alive, really, hasn't it? Third is still number 64, Anton Landon. Fourth is Rob Johnston, number 82. Fifth is number 7, Stuart Murch. Sixth is number 40, Darren Berris. And then it's the Class B lead, which is the 158 car of Douglas Hanna, the Pro Comp LA Gold. And there you briefly had a shot of the car that had stopped on the circuit, Marcus Roskill, who had those issues.
He did a really good job to keep it out of the tyre stack, didn't he? Because that's what I thought may occur, but he did a good job not to allow it to do that, and then safely guided into a marshal post, car 5 foot out, and what looked like it was going to be a real drama, it hopefully hasn't come up to anything too significant. But Hiley now is ahead, perhaps a bit more confident on the perhaps new track surface, slightly slippery in places.
Well, the last lap was 7 or 8 seconds slower than the best laps that they were doing, so that tells you something. Let's just have a quick replay of what went on up at the S's a moment ago. Here it is, Josh.
Yeah, you see a big blow up. I saw the smoke at Tower, but it came a lot more. And then a big flames. And how close was the driver there, Marcus Roskill, to making contact with the tyre stack? And then behind, you can see Andy Hiley going off the road. We've got the checkered flag out, by the way, so we thought this race might end early. The checkered flag has come out, but you can see Andy Hiley went off, but obviously quickly back up to speed and was able to pass Paul Collingwood into the complex, which ended up being the winning move.
Yeah, so with the fluid down, I think the decision made to flag the race early. So Andy Hiley it is that has taken the win then by 9/10 of a second from Paul Collingwood in second. Anton Landon third. Rob Johnston is going to come up to the line next. He is going to take fourth. There he is. Not too far ahead of the Class C winner, Stuart Murch. And Darren Berris, actually in his Westfield, he's had a bit of a lonely race. He's just heading out of the hairpin now, number 40 this is.
Class B leaders, Ian, are pretty much together coming into the complex. So Douglas Hanna has been caught by Andrew Hayward. We've got that on the screen there briefly. So Andrew Hayward a bit more confident in the slippery stuff. So the youngster there in the silver Clubber, one of the oldest cars on the grid, isn't quite going to be able to outpace the Pro Comp. So Doug Hanna takes the Class B win in the opening round of the season.
He does indeed, and only by a matter of less than 1.3 seconds it was in the end. And third within that class is going to go the way of Martin Hayward, I think, isn't it? So they were ahead of that drama a bit further back. When we saw Marcus Roskill have that off, we also saw Alan Robinson getting a bit crossed up on whatever fluid had been spilt there. in that incident. So that's the Freaky Part Sports Specials Championship, brought to a slightly premature conclusion because of the treacherous track conditions there. So the officials will be on hand to deal with that. Let's have a look at the result though. 53, the race winner then, Andy Hiley, completing 9 laps, and he was 0.95 seconds clear of number 11 Paul Collingwood in second place. In third place and completing the overall podium, number 64 Anton Landon. Fourth was 82 Rob Johnston, tilting for the championship this year. Fifth, number 7 Stuart Murch, last year's Class C champion, getting off to a winning start this year. Sixth, number 40 Darren Berris. Seventh, 158 Douglas Hanna, winner of Class B, ahead of 27, which is Andrew Hayward. Mickey Scott, number 58, is 9th, and 65 Martin Hayward rounding out the top 10. And then Colin Benham, Gerard O'Donoghue, Alan Robinson and Stuart Thompson, last year's champion, back in 14th. And Sylvia Much, Brad Snow, Trevor Harbour and Neil Webb, the final finisher. We obviously lost some cars as well during the course of that Freaky Part Sports Specials race, and they also have 2 more races to come tomorrow. Beg your pardon, they only have the 1 race tomorrow, don't you? Correct myself. There's the driver, Marcus Roskill, out of his car. And we will hear in a moment from our successful drivers, I think, in Sports Specials.
So not a good start to the run with that car, is it, for Colin Benham there? For
Marcus Roskill.
Marcus Roskill, yeah, that's right. And Stuart Thompson was expecting him to be strong, wasn't he? Himself, Stuart Thompson really struggled in that race, obviously involved in the incident. Let's head downstairs and to Chris Stevens.
Well, the Freaky Parts Sports Specials Championship first race of the season goes to Andy Hiley. I mean, that was some incredible fight that we saw out there with Paul Collingwood.
Yes, he was going mighty well this afternoon, so having to work hard for it, yeah. Back markers played into my hands. Yeah, so it went well. To say we've got 1 wet on the back because we found we had a fairly with rim last minute, so we ain't got a spare on the rim, so we had to put a wet on it. That'll be ghost now, I think. So it was getting a bit difficult towards the end. It wasn't stopping in a straight line. It was squirming around quite a lot, but we managed it.
And despite that, it still seemed that you had maybe a slight pace advantage in the complex. It seemed Paul seemed to have the advantage on the straights, but you were able to make up for it elsewhere.
I was making up for it in the complex a little. Yeah, I was making up for it a bit on the brakes as well. Yeah.
So can we expect more fights like this throughout the season?
It's looking that way, isn't it? Eh? As long as the old man can manage it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. First race as a pensioner. You're very eager to point that out to me this morning. So you've started your life as a pensioner in fantastic style.
Yep, absolutely. First time as a pensioner, win. I'll take that.
Awesome, right. We look forward to seeing you out in race number 2. Let's go and have a word with Stuart Much. You had a bit of a moment out there, but you still came away with the class win.
Yes, yeah, there was I think we were coming around to catch a back marker, and he just didn't use his mirrors, so I went right and then left, and he sort of stayed where he was, and I had to go off, which sort of ruined the battle I was having with Rob Johnson. Me and him were tussling really well, obviously not for position, but for track position. But yeah, it was a good race. We had a good result. The car held up well. The BS Motorsport gearbox stuck together, which is more than can be said for the old Mazda box. So yeah, we're very happy.
It's great that you can still have fights with other cars, even though it's not technically for position or for points, but you still put on a good show. Yeah.
It's always nice to have a race, regardless of where you are on the track. Just having somebody that you can battle with, and Rob is a good hard racer. We've raced together for quite a few years now, and we gave each other just enough space to not cause any incidents, but enough to push the other person on.
Great stuff. Well, we look forward to seeing you out in race number 2 later on. And then the next class was Douglas Hanna taking the win there. Hello. We don't do interviews in the car very often, but how was that out there for you?
To get into this thing, yeah, that was good. Yeah, we struggled in qualifying. It was so greasy, and Yeah, the car was great. I mean, we weren't sure about tyre pressures, we weren't tested, but yeah, the car was just spot on. I mean, it's faultless, fantastic, yeah. Big thanks to my mate Pat, who builds the engines and does a lot of prep on the car. So yeah, that was great. Yeah, a bit lonely out there actually. That was a bit, I was expecting the Group Bs to be a bit closer, but yeah, I got on the tail end of some Group As and that drew me away, I think. So yeah.
It looks a little close towards the end there. Do you think it might go away for you at any moment?
There was oil down at the Clark S's, and I took it a bit easier through there, I think, and the other guys, and he was starting to catch me. So yeah, I don't know if there was much in hand, but yeah, I think it was just the oil. I didn't want to go off at the last minute, so yeah.
Yeah, always better safe than sorry. Cool. Yes, yes. All right, well, we'll see you out there in race number 2. Let's go back up to you, Ian and Josh, because coming up next, it is the Tequila Roadsports Series.
Yes, indeed. The Tequila Roadsports Series then, first event of the season, of course, for this category. And this is a mini endurance race, 45 minutes in length with pit stops as well. Not part of a championship, just a series of races. Quite a few of the drivers will be seeing out tomorrow as well in the Tequila Club Enduro Championship, an even longer race than this. So there's some extra mileage effectively for that as well, but some here just for the road sports race itself. Let's take a short break and we'll be back with you to look ahead to the Road Sports Series in just a moment. So Tequila are the sponsors of the Road Sports Series, which is coming up next here at Croft Circuit. And that's just as soon as the cars from the previous race have been recovered, including that of Marcus Roskill, which is getting a full lift onto the recovery truck. But a great field of cars. I think we've got the thick end of 40 cars, I think 35 cars in fact, due to take the start of this Tequila Road Sports Series race, Josh, and
lots of fast, big cars for Croft as well in the front order. Huge number of Class A and B cars as well. The more powerful machines in Road Sports are entered, and even in the slightly damp qualifying session, they were underneath record pace. Interestingly, Andy Schultz, BMW shared with Matthew Hampton. I think they're probably admitting that Matthew isn't quite as fast as Andy. It'd be Matthew Hampton starts from pole. So not him that did the time, but started, but he didn't make the first lap. If he can hang on to the top spot, we're saying lots of drivers double duty contenders. They need to race before they do come tomorrow. Just a little idea how tomorrow may go.
Yeah, absolutely. 45-minute race, and it has a rolling start. So the cars will come onto the grid, they'll stop, and then they'll take on a full lap of the circuit behind the pace car, and then they'll go off into the 45-minute race. There is, of course, pit stops as well. That's between 15 and 30 minutes into the race. It's a 60-second mandatory pit stop that they have to make. If they stop at the wrong time or not long enough, then they will be penalised. And of course, when they come in here at Croft, because it's a tight pit lane, they have to park at a 45-degree angle as well.
And one thing about the pole car is that car does have a penalty in the pit stops for a sequential gearbox, and there's I think 5 cars in the grid that have a non-factory sequential gearbox, and therefore they have a 10-second longer stationary pit time. They are cars 40, 117, 169 for Class A, Class E car number 8, and Class C car 101. But importantly, it's that car from pole position that's going to be one of those cars that have a slightly longer stop time. 60 seconds stationary isn't a long time when you are changing drivers, as is the case in Roadsports. So that's going to be interesting to watch if the team can get done. And both the front row cars are double driven cars, so you've got Matthew Hampson to start, Andy Schulz to take over the M3, they're in pole position, and then alongside the Seat Cupra, to be started by Mark Grice, Will Beach to take that one over. You've got rear wheel drive BMW, front wheel drive Seat, factory built car that was Seat, and then you've got a couple of solo driven cars there on the second row. Daniel Sylvester, who I think has already done quite a bit of racing this week, Ian. He's out in Audi TT today.
Yep, he was out with us at Donington Park on Monday, both in the MRT Championship, which is racing for a while, but also the Hot Hatchet as well, driving the Express McCloy car there. So Daniel Sylvester, a busy driver with the 750 Motor Club this season. The Renault Megane safety car with the field assembled behind it will be acting as the pace car for the rolling lap, which will get underway in just a moment. And here we are on board with the Darkside Developments car of Daniel Sylvester that's lining up there on the second row of the grid. So we are on board there with that number 6 Audi TT.
That should be an interesting watch during the course of this race to potentially slippery track at places. At the moment we've got track maintenance up at Jim Clark S is trying to dress the fluid that we know is in that part of the circuit, but Daniel Sylvester done a good job there in the Audi to get onto the second row of the grid, just alongside Colin Gillespie in his Seat. Another car we have an onboard camera with is car number 89, which is the diesel Golf of Scott Parkin, who's qualified 14th for this race and is the quickest car in Class B for the slightly smaller brake horsepower per tonne. 300 for the cars in Class A, 240 I think for the cars in Class B, and Scott Parkin is the first of those who are on board with a moment ago, the driver from South Yorkshire. From Barnsley, he's only racing for a few seasons, but that heading Golf with the 2-litre TDI engine producing 270 brake horsepower, weighs just over a tonne. Excellent racing cup car. They've converted into a diesel race car. Darkside Developments specialise in diesel engines. One car just opposite us in is the Vauxhall Corsa, pretty tiny against some of the big touring cars around it. James Birch has done a pretty decent job to get that car fair way up the grid. We haven't seen him out for a few years, but he's back this weekend.
Yeah, the Track Obsession liveried car, factory organiser. And he started in 2014 actually, but last raced in 2019. And the Corsa, he says, I'd never intentionally choose this as a race car, but it's an emotional investment. We never built it as a race car, it's just slowly developed over time with no circuit racing pedigree, a lot of development put in over the years. It runs fully race jointed suspension and setup, plays LSD, wave stroke gearbox, 18 brakes, tilting paddlebox, 225mm wide tyres, which is 40mm wider than the standard, and other modifications to help it keep up with the more modern machine. Well, it's keeping up, and indeed it is well among the more modern machine as well. We'll pick that up no doubt during the course of the race. That's the 56 Vauxhall Corsa of James Burton, got built initially back in 2010, start as a daily driver.
Just behind him on the grid is Jim Benson, a new car for this year. Nicely presented Lotus the Series 2, so let's see how Jim gets on. That's BMW racer. Interesting name on this grid, somebody I watched on last weekend, the other half of the weekend, is Nigel Greensall, who's out there, I think, starting the car from 8th position. BMW M3 was a race winner at Donington Park last weekend, the TVR Griffith from the 1960s. He also raced a Ford Mustang, a big McLaren Can-Am car. So this is going to be a little bit different out there in much more modern machinery. This an E46 M3, which is owned, I think, by James Collins, who made his race debut just a couple of months ago with the Classic Sports Car Club, and now having his 750 Motor Club debut this weekend, both today and tomorrow.
Not too many Class C cars, and no Class D cars selling today, but Class C, best of those in qualifying was Matt Creed in the Renault Clio 200, number 23. That's going to be seen lining up 24th on the grid, row 12 of the grid for him, and he's qualified just ahead of the Alex Richardson MX-5 Mark III, which is a beroofed version of the MX-5. Let's have a look at the grid then, as we wait the start of this race. Pole position, it is going to be the number 169 car. That's shared between Matthew Hampson and Andy Schultz. Matthew Hampson is going to start it. Alongside him on the front of the grid is going to be Mark Price, number 27, so that's sharing the Seat Cupra with Will Beach. The second row on the inside is number 6, Dan Sylvester, in the Audi TT. Beside him is 151 Colin Gillespie in the Seat Cupra. On the third row, it's the 117 car. That's being started by Ian Jones, BMW Compact. And then it's the Golf GTI of Rob Baker starting that car. He'll hand over to Carl Swift. On row 4 of the grid, it's number 10 on the inside. That's Josh Lawton, and then Nigel Greensall starts the number 40 BMW next to him. Andrew Rath it is that goes in car 92 on the inside of row 5 and hand over to Phil Knibb. Alongside Andrew on that row of the grid is Luke Handley in the diesel. And then on the 8th row of the grid, it's number 8, that's the Ginetta G40. Chris Webster starting that one. He'll hand over to Matthew Tidmarsh, and Robert Andrade alongside in car 777. On the 9th row, on the inside, it's number 701. Oliver Wilmot is starting that Seat. Besides him is John Monday's Honda Civic, number 14. On to row 10, and that's where we find the Corsa, number 56 of James Birch, and beside him is number 12. Benson, number 59, is on the inside of row 11 in the Lotus Series 2. Liam Collins is on the table. And Jack Wright, number 45, in the Golf beside him. Leslie Chanika's number 25 car is on the inside of row 15 and beside him. So a big old grid of cars, and they're down, headed out, Josh, onto their green flag.
Yeah, right, ahead of their 5-minute race. So, really interesting race, this one. 5 minutes is what is scheduled for a few minutes behind the timetable. So you mentioned the right, it's out there in their Golf, they're being Jack and George right at the back, and there's the word from debut regularly. And worked to get that car out there from the former Formula B. Raised up, his debut of this Mini. Quickest in Class B this morning, just a second slower. So interesting car there, much smaller than the other cars around that Ginetta G40.
So 45 minutes on the clock then, the safety car is about to pull into the pit lane. For his rolling start, pit stops, don't forget, 15 to 30 minutes in. down to Hampton to control the pace. Red lights on, they go out, and away we go for the first TQR Roadsports race of the season, and heading down. Scatter left and right. That was all a little bit messy, Josh.
Some of these drivers are using this for the test session tomorrow. Look like that at times there. So it is 27 that leads. That's Mark Rice. Up to second is coming in. Champions, so we'll see how they get on. They've made a good start up ahead there of the Sayat and Colin Gillespie, who's in P4. Then Luke Hadley, who's upgraded his Golf to Class A specification for this year. Another multiple club enduro Mark. Lots of power in that BMW compact. Can he get the car stopped at the end of the straight? He can. So it's a P1, goes the oldest car by far in this group.
Fourth at the moment, then there is the 151 car, which is slowing that of Colin Gillespie.
Yes, slowing down towards Tower, and now that car is going to cut back to the pit lane. Yes, it is. That's a reliability issue we're seeing with one of the Sayats. Don't know if he got involved in it on the first corner or not, but Colin Gillespie is limping very much back to the pit lane. Now you can see the Scottish red.
pit lane entrance from where they are. But let's have a look at some on-track back. I think that's the 46 car going through. That's Jack Wright in the Golf up on the inside of the 33 car. Matt Green also going past the number 33 Honda Integra of Liam Collins as well.
Looks like the Seat of Pickett has got some sort of spillage in the car. There's lots of cloths being put into the passenger side of the car. Oh, that's the driver's side on that car. Spillage in the cockpit. Anyway, let's have a look at the lead battle, because there's that new area motorsport Volkswagen Golf of Rob Baker, making a much tighter line than a type of car he's very used to. They've been racing a Seat over the last few years, and at the moment he's trying to chase down the Seat there of Mark Wright. 380 brake horsepower, big turbocharged Volkswagen Golf there. Then for Rob Baker with his teammate now just behind him, Luke Handley. So for the last 3 years, Rob Baker's won Class A, Club Enduro, Luke Handley's won Class B. They're both in the same class this year, and they look pretty similarly paced in the early stages of this one. Nigel Greenfield just behind, and catching them, I reckon, is Josh Lawton in his Honda Civic.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we'll keep an eye on Josh, number 10, who started 7th, is 6th. Hampson has made it into pit lane, by the way. Is that the leader a bit out of shape, coming out of sync there maybe? Ian Jones is the battle for the lead that we're watching. Mark Rice there in second, Rob Baker with them as well.
Smoking the compact as it was breaking down here into the complex. Still got yellow flags as the marshals retreat to the post after pushing the Seat into the pit lane. Ian Jones, did he get hit under yellow flags?
I think, yes, there was some contact. Ian Jones has got his hand out of the window there, saying, what on earth's going on with the yellow flags? I'm getting a nudge there from Mark Rice. Mark Rice is still there in second place, with Rob Baker right behind him. The Mazda there has just been come out of the pit lane, hasn't it?
And while he was being lapped, Nigel Greensill got up ahead of Luke Handley as they went through Hawthorne.
Let's have a look at a replay of that incident up there at the hairpin just a moment ago, Josh.
Yellow flags already, so already in yellow flags here, which means drivers need to slow down, be prepared to stop, and Ian Jones was doing that, and the rear end of the car got lifted up there by contact, so I suspect race control will be looking at that one.
Right. Anyway, racing continues here at Croft, and we are on lap 3.
Josh Lawton was catching. He's done the fastest lap of the race. He's a second quicker than anybody else. So the Honda Civic there, car number 10, is the quickest car in the race. The driver from Hull, local-ish to Croft Circuit here, the ex-Time Attack racer in this 1994 Honda Civic EG with a K24 supercharged engine. There's lots of power in that car. All over the back now of Luke Handley as they battle over 5th place. Yellow flags are in this time, so they can race this time through the complex. And Ian Jones, therefore, brakes later, turns into the hairpin, not under pressure from Mark Wright. Part of one of their cars is in the middle of the road as they turn their way out of the hairpin. Still in 3rd place is Rob Baker, and then up to 4th, Nigel Greensill looks quicker than all of them, perhaps unsurprisingly. The historic racer there in P4. Then a gap back to Luke Handley, who's still ahead of Josh Lawton, who's all sideways over the curbs, and he saves it. A big moment there.
It was indeed a big moment. So here is the race leader, Ian Jones still, 6 tenths to the good, 4 tenths I should say to the good at the beginning of the lap. He's being chased by Mark Rice here. There's Nigel Greensill looking as if he's going to try and make a move there on Rob Baker as well in that BMW. Nigel Greensill racing all kinds of different cars over the years. There's the Gillespie car that's made its way into the pit lane, and it's the Laken car there. Greensill behind it, a gap back there, a little bit further to Luke Handley in 5th position. We've had just about 7 minutes of this race so far. We've had quite a lot of action already packed into those 7 minutes. Here's the leader, who is surely going to catch up with some traffic in the form of the number 82 Mark Lane Honda Civic.
And it's side by side for the lead into the hairpin, because round the outside is trying Mark Rice. Ian Jones here, you can see he's on the inside of the Seat there as they run side by side through the circuit, through the corner. Ian Jones doesn't give a huge amount of room to the Stay at drive, who's all over the grass, is going to lose momentum, lose positions there. So around the outside of the hairpin, tend not to work here, of course, particularly when there isn't that much room given for second place. Traffic just about coming into effect there, so Nigel Greensall wasn't able to lunge up the inside of Rob Baker, which he gave a little bit of a look to do.
It also meant that Mark Rice has been delayed getting past that back marker as well, so he's going to lose ground there as well to Nigel Greensall, so he's lost quite a few car lengths. So it's BMW leading, Ian Jones, Volkswagen Golf in second now, Rob Baker, BMW in third, Nigel Greensall, and the car off there is number 25. That's the car that Leslie Charnocker was sharing, but it is looking in quite a bad way, that, Josh.
I'm going to stop him trying to get back going by the looks of things. I think it's Rob Smith who he's sharing with ex-historic Formula Ford racer, but I'm not sure if Rob is going to get a go. Looking at the Porsche there for Les, ex-Ferrari Challenge racer, returning to action this year in a Porsche, but that Porsche's a little bit beaten up now.
Just checking the detail of the start driver there. I think it was indeed Rob starting that, looking at it, so we'll see about that. Anyway,
let's see what happens. Here are the leaders. Still Rob Baker ahead of Nigel Greensall. They're still both behind Ian Jones. They turn their way here through and out of the hairpin. This is all looking very competitive though, isn't it? Because Luke Handley's not that far behind, then Josh Lawton in 6th, then Dan Sylvester in 7th. There can't be much more than a second between each of those cars, so it's very competitive indeed, the first 10 minutes of racing here in the Tigirwa Roadsports Series. That big curb hopping moments for a few drivers as they go through there. Looks like Daniel Sylvester's Audi TT didn't get too badly damaged in that first lap incident he was involved in. Top three pretty close, 1.4 seconds between Jones, Baker and Greensall going down towards Tower.
Because Greensall had a big look down the inside of Baker for second place there as they went into Tower Corner, couldn't quite make it work. Now of course all of the, actually the first 4 drivers, or first 4 cars, all have 2 drivers in, so it'll be interesting to see how things pan out in the second part of the race. Are the second drivers going to be as quick as the drivers in first? We'll have to see about that. We'll be having the pit lane open in the next 5 minutes or so for the first time.
Yeah, that's right. So there's the Porsche, isn't it? Yeah, just out of Sunny. So it did get parked up, I think, near a marshal post. That's steaming away. Mark Grice has caught Baker and Greensall. More cars in trouble though. And
Giles Kirk, isn't it?
Yeah,
the 11 car.
Same Super Cooper. So he is probably heading potentially on his way back to the pit lane. Meanwhile, for second place, it's pretty much side by side up across the line. This time Nigel Greensall's on the outside line, heading up towards Clairvaux. I think the BMW's got the power, despite those big turbocharged, big turbocharger on the Volkswagen Golf. Nigel Greensall is able to slot through then into second position. Didn't qualify perhaps as well as he would like. I know Greensall went out first, and it went a bit damper. So perhaps that might be something to do with it, but now he's using his pace to claw his way now into second position. Can he catch Ian Jones? Can he hang on to second position first of all?
Yeah, because he's not getting away from Rob Baker yet. Mark Grice right with them as well in the Cupra. So they're turning their way around Tower Corner. It's just letting Ian Jones start to build up a small lead here. It's 1.3 seconds at the start of the lap. Class B, that's being led by Scott Parkin. He's 8th overall in number 89. And problems there for Rory Melia in that Mini, number 191. Looks like he is out of the race. A great shame for Rory Melia then, and he is the other half of Sammy Bowler, who's also in this race, of course.
Yes, I think Rory had a few issues with his car in quali as well. Sammy Bowler, you mentioned there, she's worked her way up into the top 20 in her Class B Mini. Here's the battle for second, third and fourth through the complex. A few minutes till the pit window opens. And this means Ian Jones through the traffic is very much pulled away, pulled clear from Nigel Greensall, who runs out wider than Rob Baker. But tightest line of all is with the Seat of Mark Grice, but I don't think Grice is quite good at the challenge up towards Clairvaux. So the gap is 2.4 seconds now then from Ian Jones back to Nigel Greensall, but you would suggest their co-drivers may not be as quick as who's at the wheel now. Into the pits come down Sylvester, and there's a tyre on the grass in front of us. So whether those two facts are related, I'm unsure.
Yeah, not quite sure where that's come from. We'll see if we can figure that out as the race goes on. Pit window 2.5 minutes away from opening. I don't think we've got a chance to finish from centre. On Mach 3 it is that leads Class C in 19th position overall as we are watching
Class B leader.
Yes.
Got Parkin. He's up to 7th overall now. He's had a really good run. He's only a few hundredths off of Rob Boston's lap record. There's an Audi just ahead of him, the RS3, who was behind him. So I think Scott Parkin's lost actually a couple of places at the start of the lap. Firstly, to the Seat started by Andrew Rapp, but also to Brad Kaler in this Audi RS3 that's making it something to make a debut today.
Yeah, so Brad Kaler up position there. So we are working lap number 9 on this race.
Greensoul's had a quick lap over here. He's much closer to Ian Jones and much further ahead of Rob Baker. So we're seeing Nigel Greensoul, who was 2.4 seconds behind, their fastest lap of the race. They go up across the line now then. And it's the time is being refreshes. He has a 1 minute 28.40. New fastest lap then for Nigel Greensoul, who's pulled away from this battle for third between Rob Baker and between Mark Rice.
Okay, so we'll see if we can get on terms with the race leader then. Bound to be a possibility, one would think. There's Mark Rice flashing his lights at Rob Baker. Is he going to try and go through here at Tower Corner? So he looked like he intended to, but he's took back in behind. Rob Baker just seems to be a little bit quicker through the corners, is the Cupra of Mark Rice, as is the Golf of Rob Baker, which hands over to Carl Swift for the second part of the race. 4th to 5th, a long gap back to Luke Handy now in 5th position, the 51 car, who's only just ahead of that Josh Lawton Honda, number 10.
I think Dan Sylvester might have got back out into the race, so I do wonder if that was his tyre we saw go adrift out of the complex. Meanwhile, we watch a very, very sideways Ginetta that's spun. That's the 101 car, which is Andy Shepherd in his Ginetta G40, a more standard machine. We had a big spin there coming out of the exit, and hopefully he didn't connect with anything. He'll be able to get back going, but we can continue to watch this
side
battle.
by side for the lead though as they head down towards Clervaux Corner now, and it's Nigel Greensoul that's taken the lead. He's got ahead of Ian Jones now, so number one, where are we? We'll get the numbers right in a minute, but it is now the 40 car that's taken the lead. It was just ahead as they went over the line, ahead of the 117 car of Ian Jones in second place. They're 3 seconds clear of the next group of cars now, but on the straight, Nigel Greensoul was just able to power past the BMW Compact of Ian Jones, which is in its own right quite quick in a straight line.
It's pretty impressive really what they've done. Martin Gadsby's done with that BMW Compact, isn't it? To be not that much lower than Nigel Greensoul, who's such an experienced and rapid driver in a full M3.
That 101 Ginetta, which had the spin, is just driving down the pit lane, by the way, so it clearly was unscathed.
But there could be a pit stop too, if they wanted to be, because we are into the pit stop window, so expect cars to potentially start pitting. There's Liam Crilly out there, back with us with the 750 Motor Club. He's in 12th position in his BMW Z4. We saw quite a lot of Liam Crilly in the past. He's just behind Johnny Munday's on the Civic and just ahead of James Birch and he's got Corsa. Now that Greensoul's ahead, I wonder how much he might be able to pull clear. Has he got the first track limit penalty of the weekend here?
Yeah, and it's gone to the 117 car of Ian Jones, showing Martin Gadsby, showing Gadsby's name on the timing screen there. Ian Jones is the driver out there at the moment. He's come across the line that time, and he has had a 1.69 seconds behind Greensoul, plus the 5-second penalty that will be added to the race time at the end of the race.
That's one of the cars with a 10-second longer pit stop as well. Sequential gearbox from James and Gadsby pairing. Into the pit lane comes the Class B leader, Scott Parkin. Brakes late at the 60km/h marker. There he is in the pits, the Darkside Golf that did lead its class by I think about 20 seconds or so from Johnny Monday, who we saw a moment ago. There's the pit stop then, down in the pit lane.
Yeah, on board with Scott while this is all going on. Just 60 seconds. stop under normal circumstances as a minimum. He's then in the number 89 car. As we're watching here, the Audi come towards us. That's the Brad Kahler car, 187. And he's got a head now of 92, which was Andrew Raff that started. That's Cooper that's just behind him. So another position made up there for Brad Kahler, number 187, who started 13th on the grid. He's now up inside. Well, it's actually 5th. No, 6th. That's the start.
Race leader, Nigel Greensill, completes lap number 12 of this race as Jim Benson in car 59 into the pit. His Lotus Elise, he was about 17th, I think, before he pitted. Also into the pits for a driver change is Jack Wright to hand over to I think his brother George in their Volkswagen Golf there at the end of the pit lane. It's Josh Lawton, one of our first front runners to come in out of 5th position. Josh Lawton driven, solo driven, so on the Civic into the pits. Race lead gap, by the way, 1.2 seconds between Nigel Greensill and Martin Gadsby. Only a couple of seconds further back, Rob Baker on the last lap through traffic. Mark Wright lost out. He's a further 3 seconds behind Baker. And I'm suggesting with the driver changes, the lead car by the way is another one with a 10-second longer pit stop sequential box. So I think the lead battle will be between Cole Swift and William Beach in the second half.
And I think that might be always what it was going to be, given the different drivers that are going to be getting into the cars driven by Ian Jones and Nigel Greensill as well. Possibly those were the quicker drivers, I think, in those two respective cars as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shapes out in the second half of this race. There's that battle between Brad Kahler and Andrew Rackett just went through shot. Here is Liam Quinney, who's just ahead on the Rockton Corsa we spoke about early on. James Birch is into the top dozen now. It's a really good effort this in the Rockton Corsa just behind the BMW Z4. Into the pit lane comes Ian Jones down to 2nd position. BMW Compact is in now to hand over the car owner Martin Gadsby. That's a good idea while the pit lane's quite empty.
Yeah, so this is actually the battle for second place in Class B, isn't it? Just going through there with Liam Quinney and James Birch going through shot at the Jim Clark S's.
Pits on one of our Car C front runners, Alex Richardson. He was 2nd in Car C, a little way behind Matt Creed, who continues to lead the class. He set a new lap record under a second under the lap record. Matt Creed in the Renault Clio, 1:36.16. Blue flags waving for the slower Honda there into the complex. Liam Quinney then laps that Honda Civic of Dominic Barlow. Down to the pit lane with driver changes is Chris Stevens.
I'm down at the Darkside team garage with Rob. So first of all, just tell us what happened with the TT. We saw it came in with no front left tyre.
Yeah, Danny had a little bit of contact earlier with the BMW, and it stayed out as long as it could for ultimately resulted in
Obviously a shame for British Race, especially after qualifying so well, but you've got the B-Class lead before the pit stop just now for Scott, so things are looking good there.
Yeah, well, Scott could take the B-Class lead. Sailed out of the street and we've run a bit faster.
Thanks for the update. Ian, let's go back to you.
Thanks, Chris. And there is the car of Nigel Greensill, which is leading on the road at the moment then by about 3.5 seconds. From Rob Baker in 2nd place, it's Mark Price in 3rd, and Campbell's just gone past our commentary box window, is in 4th position as we are approaching the halfway point, Josh.
In the pit stop, Josh Lawton has got himself up ahead of Martin Gadsby, so good pit stop there from Josh Lawton. That could be a car for the podium, I would say, during the course of this race, and now he's got. Well, I was going to say he's got clear track, but the pit stop here is basically a whole lap, isn't it?
Yeah.
60-second station, about 30 to about a lap around this course. There's Luke Handley, who's lapping Sammy Bowler in her Mini. So Luke Handley goes through then the multiple Class B champion within Club Enduro. This upgraded Volkswagen Golf and other area motorsport car. There's Josh Lawton flashing his lights on his Honda Civic. I think, is that just behind Josh Lawton? Scott Parkin. So Scott Parkin has also made a good pit stop here. So we just heard from one of his team members in the Darkside team that Golf TDI's parking going well. They turned their way down. He's just behind the Car C leader, Matt Creed, who's at that record. 4 cars in the pit lane. That's a driver change. Andrew Rapp to Phil Nim. Sayat there, you can see number 92. You can see Andrew got out. We have to use the whole breadth of the pit lane past the garages here because of the size of the entry. You can see the cars parking at a 45-degree angle as the regulations state. And there's the leader though, Nigel Greensill. Now 4 seconds clear of Rob Baker. And into the pit lane, I think it's come Mark Bryce, who will hand over to William Beach. And Beach will get in 27. The track at one stage. Through the S's then goes Nigel Greensill. 4 seconds ahead of Rob Baker. Been similar type of pace over the last few laps. There's that Genettis, that was back out after it's been an early stop. Leo out there as well, that's I think William Brown, his 182 model. And here we can see Chris Freeman, another of the area run Golfs, a little bit plainer liveried car. I think that car had a bit of a bash at Anglesey last year, so it's been rebuilt. Chris Freeman coming in a sick condition, it's a Class A car. Like Baker and like Handley. Now pit stop done then with Sayat. Now is Will Beach going to be our leading pit stop? Yes, I think he is. Just making his way through the complex, which is now under yellow flags because the Genetti's been off again. The G40, I think now in the hands of Rob Fenwick, has had an off in the Andrew Shepherd started and then the G40. There it is. Now with dust and grass falling out the bottom of that car.
Yeah, that's the 101 car. 89 was Scott Parkin, of course, who's leading Class B before the pit stops. Liam Crilliot now is that leads Class B, although he will be soon in the pit. There's only 5.5 minutes left before the pit lane window closes. Matt Creed, our Class C leader, is now in as well. His Renault Clio 200 other drivers who have made the decision to stop in the last few moments. So as the cars continue on, we've got Martin Gadsby car through, but we will head back down to the pit lane once again and to Chris Stevens.
So we just saw Mark Bryce get out of the car and hand over to teammate William. So that seemed like a very eventful first stint for you.
Yeah, it certainly was. At the opening few laps I had gear change issues, so 1 minute it wouldn't select, next minute it select 2 gears in a row, so I was having to do it manually on the stick, and then I got the gear sticks working afterwards, and then I just had a little tap into the last turn with the BMW in front of me, and then the next lap or 2 laps down I was going around the outside and it didn't leave me really good through, and I ended up going on the grass. So yeah, it was very eventful, yeah.
And we expected that back to continue throughout the rest of the race?
Yes, I would think so, yeah. It took me back to get the tyres clean again, so I lost a bit of grip, and then it's just a matter of dealing with the back markers who are having their own race. So obviously we have got to try and find a way around them, and depending on where you catch them, depending on whether you lose ground or gain ground on the one in front.
And of course you guys are also out tomorrow at the club in Jericho as well. So how much are you trying to protect the car and not get any damaged panels or ruin the car for tomorrow's race?
Yeah, that's it. The last thing we want to do really is have the mechanics working all night, fixing the car and the damage, so we've just got to take that in mind. But with it being the first race of the season as well, we sort of want to get a feel of what it's going to be like tomorrow, because quite a few of them around us, the Baker car, they're all in the same race tomorrow, so we have an idea of what's going to happen. We've got 2 hours to do it tomorrow.
Well, thanks for chatting to us, Mark. Guys, as you can see, it's an absolute hive of activity in the pit lane here, so let's go back upstairs to you.
Yeah, and right behind you, Chris, we've got Nigel Greensill into the pits in the number 40 car, Tanner James Collins, so you might be able to have a chat with him in a moment. Josh?
So the car that's racing against Will Beach is just making its way up towards the hairpin now, so can Will Beach be our lead in pit stop, get out ahead of James Collins? We know the BMW has the longer pit stop to serve, and it's, yeah, indeed, it's going to drop behind, isn't it?
Yeah, so Grice goes past the Collins car now, so just away from its pits, and it's going to be 15 seconds ahead to the Mark Bryce Will Beach car there. So that is for the lead of the race. I think Rob Baker's still staying out, isn't he, in the lead of the race, in number 1 at the moment, Josh?
So is Luke Handy, so is Chris Freeman, so this must be an area motorsport strategy, how to run this, but they're going to have to pit on the next lap or so, aren't they, because the pit window shuts in 2.5 minutes, so therefore maybe squeeze one more in, but no more than that. So Rob Baker's going to get the driving today.
Dan Silvester's back in for pits again, so this will be for his mandatory stop this time, I think, won't it, George?
Yeah, because he was just a couple of minutes too early with the tyre issue, so Chris left us know it was from that car. I did wonder. The tyre fell off and then he was straight into the pit lane, basically. Chris Stevens is busy down the pit lane, he's finding more drivers.
I'm in the pit lane with Nigel. He just got out of the car. You seem to really be in the thick of the action in the early stages of the race.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I'm not quite sure what happened as they kept him out of the first corner. There was a few cars that were involved, and I was just being really cautious and careful. Our prime bet this afternoon is to get James, my co-driver, car owner. So James Collins, he needs to finish the race to get a signature on his licence. And it's his first season of racing, so we're just trying to build his spirits up and build it up. But everyone was getting a little bit crazy down into the first corner, so unfortunately I managed to avoid all of that. And then just took the time to pick them off one at a time. Yeah, really pleased. You know, James and his team have done a great job on the car, and it's a pleasure to drive it.
Right, it certainly looks very fast out there. Where do you think you can end up?
No idea at the moment. We've got a bit of a gear shift issue at the moment, where when I'm shifting up it's getting neutrals and stuff, so that's quite intimate. So I've briefed James, and when he got out there, he's a very smart, intelligent driver, so I said to him, just take your time, we're not worried about where we finish off. The main thing is to get to the finish of the race and have fun.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you all the best. And Ian, just before we go back up to you, I just thought I'd let you know that there are some spots of rain just starting to come down. I can feel them on the back of my neck and the palm of my hand. Not making the tarmac wet just yet. Certainly something to look out for.
We weren't expecting rain this afternoon. The pit lane window is now closed, and in the nick of time, Rob Baker did make it in there, but also he's picked up a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits during the course of this race so far. He's handed over to Carl Swift now, but that car's suffering a 5-second penalty rush.
He's got out ahead of Will Beach, probably by about 5 seconds, I'd suggest. So that's going to be interesting to see who has the pace, who gets the best of the traffic. And at the end of this lap, we'll be able to give a proper rundown of the order. There's James Collins in one of his first races. I think he and Nigel Greenstall was competed in the first day of the British Motorsport season at the end of February. A bit warmer here today at Croft, so we'll see how James gets on. He's done a lap time within 4 seconds of Nigel Greenstall's best, so that's not a bad effort. I think he's got the flashers on permanently, which I'm sure other drivers will love. No, they're starting again, haven't they?
Yeah.
So there's James Collins, though. I think he's inside the top 6. Probably around 4th. Chris is busy manning the pit lane. He's got more people to talk to.
I'm joined now by Rob Baker from the number 1 area motorsport car. Now, Rob, of course, big news for you this year is the fact that you've got a brand spanking new car out there. So how's it performing so far?
Well, it's actually one of our Class B goals from last year that we brought to Class A, and we've only had one dry day testing, so we booked onto this to get some dry running and some data and see what we can improve. But the racer in me maybe go after positions, and yeah, I think we come in P2 as people in front of me overtaken under yellows P1, and so I don't know what's happened with it. I haven't looked at the timing screen, but the car feels good for straight out of the box. We've had one dry test day this year, so pretty happy with it.
And we expecting the same performance in the Club Enduro tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll be at Club Enduro tomorrow. Like I say, we're kind of using this as a test, but obviously you want to win, don't you? So that's what we'll go for.
Absolutely great. Well, Carl's out there in the car at the moment. How do you think he's going to end up by the end of the race?
I mean, hopefully the car felt good when I brought it into him. I don't know where other people were in pit stops. But we'll be happy with anything, to be honest. It's the first time that the car's raced at this power. So we'll be happy with, you know, top 5 in general. So anything better than that's a bonus.
Very awesome. Well, thanks for talking to us. Ian, Josh, let's go back up to you.
Yeah, but it's not good news for Rob Baker and Carl Swift, because their penalty is now a 15-second penalty. It's not just 5 seconds. So this is the order as things stand before we take penalties into account. Rob Baker and Carl Swift, number 1, lead on the road by 5 seconds, but have a 15-second penalty. Second is 27. That's Will Beach now, having taken it from Mark Rice in car 27, as I say. Third is number 51, Luke Handley. Fourth is number 40, that's James Collins and Nigel Queensall. That has a 5-second penalty. Fifth is the 187 car, Brad Taylor. Sixth is number 10, Josh Lawton. Seventh and leading Class B is number 89, Scott Parkin. Eighth, number 4 is Chris Freeman, another driver with 15 seconds at penalties. Ninth is number 92, that's the Phil Nib Andrew Craft Southland Euro Cup car. And 10th is number 12, Liam Trilly, who's second in Class B. And in Class C, at the moment, is it still Matt Creed that is leading there? Just scrolling down the order, and yeah, it is Matt Creed. But he has a 5-second penalty, but it shouldn't drop him back any positions as things stand, Josh.
As long as he doesn't exceed track limits again, because that penalty will get larger pretty quickly. There's not that many places where you can exceed track limits. The penalties dished out in this race. This corner is particularly prone to it, though. You run wide out of the Jim Clark S's and run off the road. That tends to be where you get it. New fastest lap, new lap record, I think, yes, for Dan Sylvester. Despite that contact at the beginning, and a pit stop to change the tyre, but Dan Sylvester, a new lap record, 1 minute 28.08 in his Audi TFSI. So it's a long way down the order, but that car's got good pace.
It certainly does. Yeah, he'll be maybe improving on 16th position, but he's not going to get towards the sharp end of the field. It looks like at the moment it could be sort of track limits penalties that decide things. I know that Rob Baker in the interview there was suggesting that there may have been some misdemeanours with drivers overtaking under yellow flags as well, so possibly there'll be some issues for the clerk of records to look at after the race as well, or maybe some penalties applied. So we'll see if the order on track is how similar it is to the order once the classification comes out.
James Collins is moving a couple of seconds at Nigel Queensall's lap times now, and he's starting to catch Luke Handley for 3rd overall, though they have got this track limit penalty themselves, haven't they? But James Collins doing a good job, I would suggest there. So Nigel has been coaching him, and whenever Nigel talks, he always sounds so enthusiastic about everything, doesn't he? And just like he was last week at Donington again today. There's Johnny Monday back racing with us. Doing some C1 racing with his mate Chris Freeman over the last couple of years. He's back out in this Honda Civic. He's in the top dozen, and he is in 4th in Class B, but not far behind James Birch, who's 3rd, and Liam Crilly, who's 2nd. So 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in Class B, pretty close to one another. There's Dan Sylvester, the fastest driver on the circuit. He's unlapping himself at the moment as he goes down towards Tower. Chris said it was raining a few minutes ago. The sun's out now. So the rain was nothing like we had on Monday, so that's pleasing, I'm sure, for everybody. And now the weather is restored.
Yeah, indeed. Sunshine is coming out in Skoda, which is good.
Josh Lawton, though, was doing well in the first part. So dropped back in the pit window area of the race, didn't he, down to 6th.
Yeah.
But he's only a few seconds behind Brad Kaler. We'll see if he can catch. Neither of those drivers have the penalties.
That's right. So it is the 6th car of Sylvester that we're looking at the moment.
One of the front runners in Class B is making an unscheduled stop. It's the Vauxhall, James Birch.
From 12th position overall, and I think it was 3rd in class at the time he went in. So he's heading into the pit lane, unfortunately for him.
8.5 minutes to go. The gap on the road, 3.6 seconds. You know the penalty that overhangs Rob Baker's car. So in reality, it will Beach lead the way in the capture. Sayat. There's Josh Lawton, though, in that supercharged Honda Civic. Next time attack machine, lots of aero on that machine. Splitter, the big rear wing as well. Josh Lawton then, the 26-year-old from Hull, makes his way through. We watch Dan Sylvester then, who's up to, well, actually he's in 16th place now, but he's soon going to gain more positions, I would think. As he turns his way there through the S's, he managed to unlap himself against Brad Caylor, I think, recently, driving in 5th place, and that is a parking position, I think. He goes up the inside of Robert Andrade, who's making his racing debut this weekend, the driver from Wolverhampton, in the ex-Bruce Winfield Seat, who was a race winner last weekend, Snefton in TCR UK.
Andrade, who's done some sprinting and time attack before this, being run by Matty Taylor for Robert. There is Sylvester then, the fastest man in this race, albeit in 16th position overall. Now we're taking a look at the 51 car. That's Luke Handley in 3rd position. He's about 4 seconds ahead on the road of car number 40, which is James Collins, since he's taken over the green BMW from Nigel Greensill.
Yeah, they just lapped the Ginetta we spoke about earlier, the ex-Rothko car, now in the hands of Matthew Kinbosh. The car now running a 2.5 litre Duratec engine. So they're making their way through. 6.5 minutes to go. There's Martin Gadsby. Where's he dropped to? He dropped down to 13th. Yeah, he's on that last lap at least, on the best part of 10 seconds a lap slower than Ian Jones was doing in that car earlier. And that is sort of position, isn't it? Dan Sylvester behind him is, I think, pretty quickly going to get the Audi up ahead of the BMW Compact. Not an easy car to drive, though, I wouldn't think, the Compact, with all that power, much more power than it was designed to have. Driven very well in the first part by Ian Jones. There's Sylvester, who I suspect is ahead now and into 13th position. Yes, he is.
Yeah, heading into the complex once again. Just under 6 minutes to the race left to go. There's the trouble second car of Andrade going through as well. So 3.84 seconds separating first and second at this point of the race, though. That's Carl Swift and Will Beach, but Swift has got that 15 seconds penalty that will be added to his time, so he's some way from getting the win. He will be classified 3rd as things stand, 2nd I should say, as things stand, so just get back to Lake Campbell in 3rd position.
All penalties for the Collins and Greensill BMW, they're up to 15 seconds now.
Scott Parkin, he's got 5 now, I'm not sure if we had before, but I don't think that's going to cost him the Class B lead. He's 7th overall and quite a long way ahead of Liam Crillon. So second in that class.
Matt Reed is the Class C leader, has been setting more lap records, so 1:35.32 now, and he leads the class by about 25 seconds over Sammy Bowler. So, oh no, she's Class B, isn't she? Reading it wrong. So that's Richardson, isn't it? Second in Class C. 3rd is the Fenwick Shepherd car that had the spin early on, the Ginetta, I think. Just go ahead, Will Brown in 3rd place. Top 3 Class B, Parkin, Crilly, Monday. We were lap 26, just being completed by the race leader. There is Sammy Bowler, Class B, Class C car, so she's in 19th position. And she's just been lapped by Dan Sylvester on his comeback drive. More cars to factor into the coming Giro picture. Now there's a team
on the road, because it's still about 3 seconds behind Carl Swift, in fact 4 seconds or so behind Carl Swift. Now that's Will Beach in the number 10 Cupra. And on the road still it's Carl Swift leading in that Golf. That's got those 15 seconds of track limits penalties. And a moment there for number 14, that was John Munday in the Honda Civic, as he got on the brakes for Clervaux, but he got the car around the corner okay.
He's catching Liam Crilly for seconds, that's why he's pushing on for second in Class B, I should say. So there's the BMW Z4 ahead, and there's Johnny Munday in the Honda. So that is a potential gap to watch over the last couple or so laps of this race. Come down fairly significantly on the last lap. There's Luke Handley, just got a glimpse of. He's there still in third place. He's 24 seconds behind the leader. He's 7 seconds ahead of James Collins, who's being caught by Brad Kaler in the Audi. And there's Handley again. We've got a brief glimpse of. There's what is going to become our race leader after penalties are applied. Will Beach in the Sayat. Here's Collins, who's got Sylvester trying to unlap himself, then just behind is Brad Kaler. Obviously Collins scored his penalty, but on the road position, 4th and 5th, he's pretty close to the end. The leaders, I think, are going to squeeze 2 more laps in potentially, aren't they?
Possibly so, yeah.
We'll see if it ends up being that way. 3.5 seconds between them on the road. Another personal best lap time to Will Beach. They went through, I believe, 28 laps in this race. And here then is James Collins versus Brad Kaler, with Dan Sylvester between them, a lap behind, as they head here down towards Clervaux. More cars that will be battling it out tomorrow. James Collins has done a good job here. Again, only a couple of seconds a lap slower than Nigel Green. So he lets Sylvester go, so that means Kaler's going to be right behind him. At the end of the day, I guess this doesn't really matter if Kaler gets through, but it's good to see them side by side heading up towards Tower Corner nevertheless. Is Kaler going to find a way past here?
I think he probably is. As Nigel Green's always saying, the priority for James is to get the signature release licence having finished the race. So I would think it'd be wise not to defend too hard and risk an accident.
Here's the leader. This is Cole Swift, and they're going to get one more lap, I think, as they go up across the line. Yeah, one lap to go.
No checkered flag goes out. Okay. Checkered flag does wave, in fact. It is right to touch and go. So the win on the road goes to Carl Swift, but it will be, in fact, Will Beach and Mark Grice that will be classified as the winner, because they don't have the 15 seconds penalty that went back.
Brad Kaler dived up the inside of James Collins at the final corner, so he did get past him on the road, but only just.
He does indeed. So Scott Parkin then our Class B winner, and he finishes in 7th place overall.
Not sure if we've had Matt Creed through already.
Yeah, we may well have done. Just having a look at our Class C Victor. I think he possibly already has come through to take the checkered flag. Obviously has been lapped during the course of this race.
Good to have a race that went the full distance there, 45 minutes, without any interruptions to the race. So we've got a good clear picture of how that one unfolded, and very competitive up front, a pretty frenetic start to the race.
Just saw Matt Creed on screen there for those watching on the live stream, the Class C winner, so he has been through to take the checkered flag.
About half a minute ahead of Alex Richardson, who is second in the MX-5.
So I think that's everyone home now, so shortly we'll be able to bring you the provisional results of that race. Of course, this is before all the penalties will necessarily have been applied, but there you can see on the roads at least Rob Baker, Carl Swift, the winners on the road, but they've got 15 seconds to be added to their time, so that will drop them to second behind number 27 Mark Rice and William Beach, third number 51 Luke Handley, fourth Brad Kaler in 187, fifth is going to be number 40 That's the car of James Collins and Nigel Greenswell, but they'll be actually behind Josh Lawton once the times have made to number 10. Josh Lawton will be 5th, 40 Collins and Greenswell 6th. Scott Parkin, 7th, number 89, winning Class B. 8th, number 92, Phil Neville, Andrew Raff. 9th, number 4, Chris Freeman, and running out the top 10, number 12, Liam Crilly, who also is 2nd in Class B. 3rd in Class B is John Munday. Daniel Sylvester coming back to 12th at the end with the fastest lap as well. Further back, we can see that our Class C winner there in 18th position overall was number 23, Matt Creed, although he too had a 5-second penalty, but he was quite a long way clear of Alex Richardson in 2nd place in that class, and 3rd within that class was the 101 car Rob Fennick and Andrew Shepherd in the Ginetta G40 GT5. And then we get into the cars that I think didn't make it home in some cases. So James Birch, for example, he was a pit visitor. Jim Benson came to the pits and never went back out again. We lost Giles Kirk.
Yeah,
Rob Smith
epic track, love it, it's great.
Up at Sunny.
I mean, a great way to make a debut at a circuit. Obviously, you picked up a little bit of a time penalty as well, like the number 1 car, but you had the gap, so it didn't really matter.
I did see. I mean,
did I just give you a bit of a heart attack?
Yeah, flipping. Jeez, yeah. I don't know what my gap was, but yeah, I mean, track limits, I suppose. Got to be a bit careful, but
well,
yeah,
the first to give a Roadsports victory of the season goes to Mark Grice and William Beach. Riding solo as well. You just got out of the car, sweat on you as well. You've done a great job. Staring down the back of the number 1 car, which was the penalty.
The Class B winner, which was Scott Parkin. I only knew about the penalty when it came over the radio.
Yes, so obviously a bit of a misfortune with your A-Class teammate, but you've brought home the Class B win.
Yeah, he took his tyre as he was coming in the pit. For him, but I think he's got the fastest lap, so he'll probably take a little bit of that out of it as well. So, yeah.
And what about you? Any dramas on your end?
I saw that I got a track limits penalty, but it looked like everybody did because the number were changing every lap. So I think that's probably through the Jim Clark S's on the exit. Yeah, not too many dramas really. There were quite a lot of traffic, and some people were sort of like jumping out of the way, and then they'd catch you off guard. But yeah, that's to be expected. There's a big difference in abilities. You know, it's some people's first race, so you've got to take that into consideration. So yeah, pretty happy with that. So.
Well, great stuff. Congratulations on the class win, and hopefully we'll see you out again soon. You in the club in Truro?
Yeah, hopefully same. I'll be talking to you again tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll see you there. I'll see.
Jinxed it though now, so I probably won't. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers. All right, let's go back up to you, Ian and Josh. Coming up next, it is the Absolute Alignment Sports 1000 Championship.
Yeah, and it is bike-engined sports cars that we have next, and the Absolute Alignment Sports 1000 Championship. 24 cars that we will have on the grid for this one, including 6 of the Cup 200 cars, which will contest for overall points as well and get their own awards. But we'll talk more about them in just a moment. We'll have a race which has Paul Smith on pole position on this occasion, with 2 Mittels on the front row. Let's have a look at that grid now, because as soon as the cars are released, it'll be grid and go. So pole position is number 3, Paul Smith, and besides him is going to be number 8, Dan Clues. Second row is 98, John Cutmore, and 54, Ryan Yarrow. Third row, Paul Rogers in number 43, and Colin Chapman in 63. Dave Watson is in number 85. He's in the first of the Cup 200 cars. I think he's got more experience than anyone in these cars so far. 44, Carl Austin besides him. Row 5, last year's champion in the Sports 1000, Richard Webb, number 88. But he also is in the Cup 200 car for this season. Ed Collings, number 5, is behind him. Row 6 is 72, Jonathan McGill, and 33, Daniel Ashby, both Inspire GT3s. Then 7th row, 65, Matthew Booth. He's in an MK Cup 200 car, and 15, Chris Wilkinson likewise. Row 8 is 69, Ian Hutchinson, and 77, Matt Thomas.